This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Welcome to News9 and you are watching On Point. Today we have two On Points for you. RSS General Secretary Dattatreya Hosabale says that Bharat should be used wherever it can and when it comes to institutions connected with the name of the country. Deadlock continues in Manipur. Free movement does not translate into action. What will the centre do? And now the headlines. Bharat rebels hijack a train and take 182 hostages, 11 Pakistani military personnel killed. Elon Musk Starlink will be in India soon. Airtel signs deal with SpaceX to provide its services in India. Delhi court directs registration of FIR against Arvind Kejriwal for allegedly misusing public money for hoardings. Election Commission calls a meeting of all parties to improve electoral processes. Actor Rania Rao's stepfather and senior IPS officer Ramachandra Rao faces probe into the gold smuggling case. Bhushan's age, Sanjay Singh gets full control of Wrestling Federation of India. Sports Ministry revokes suspension of WFI. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets a grand welcome in Mauritius. He is the chief guest for the National Day celebrations. Ukraine carries out its biggest ever drone strike on Moscow. Russia says it shot down 337 drones. Ukrainian and American officials begin talks in Saudi Arabia in their first such meeting since the Oval Office clash. RSS General Secretary Dattatreya Hosabale says that the nation must go forward with only one name and amendments must be made to replace India with Bharat. Hosabale questioned why institutions such as Reserve Bank of India or the Constitution should still carry the English name. This is particularly wrong in times when Prime Minister Modi himself referred to the country as the Republic of Bharat. During the G20 dinner at Rashtrapati Bhavan last year, he said,
भारत ऐसे अंग्रेजी में लिखा क्योंकि भारत के नाम को इंडिया ही कहना चाहिए. वो इंग्लिश में इंडिया है और भारतीय भाषा में भारत है. क्या ऐसे हो सकता है इस दुनिया में कहीं? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया भारत का संविधान, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया भारतीय रिजर्व बैंक. हर जगह पर ऐसे क्यों करना पड़ रहा है? प्रश्न उठना चाहिए. इसको ठीक करना ही पड़ेगा ना. देश का नाम भारत है तो भारत ही कहो और एक इंडिया क्या और एक क्या.
In September 2023, a political row erupted after invites for the dinner to be hosted by the President for the world leaders during the G20 summit was sent out in the name of the President of Bharat instead of customary President of India. Also, Prime Minister Modi declared the summit in New Delhi open. He sat behind a table nameplate that read Bharat. It sparked speculations of whether the country's name will be changed officially from India to Bharat. Now, let me tell you what Hosabale said. He said the root of the Bharat or Bharatvarsha go back to Puran and Mahabharat. India was introduced by British and is a symbol of slavery. From late 18th century onwards, British maps increasingly began to use the name India. A booklet on his Indonesia visit referred to Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister of Bharat. Now there's the other side and I say what's in the name? Article 1 of the Constitution uses two names interchangeably. India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. There is no constitutional obligation to calling India Bharat is one of the two official names. Opposition is alleging that RSS is trying to create a divide between Indians and Bharatiyas. RBI and Indian Railways already have Hindi variants with Bharatiya in them. Now, the fact of the matter is that change of name would require a constitutional amendment, Article 368. In June 2020, Supreme Court dismissed a PIL seeking to remove India from the constitution. The PIL wanted to retain only Bharat to ensure citizens of this country get over the colonial past. The SC said India is already called Bharat in the constitution itself. So the big question is it the time for the nation to shed colonial baggage and call itself Bharat? Should the constitution be amended and India dropped from it altogether? On this, I am joined by Charu Pragya, spokesperson Bharatiya Janata Party, Dr. Pooja Tripathi, spokesperson Congress, Arun Anand, senior journalist, political analyst, and Professor Prasanajit Biswas, Professor of Philosophy, Northeastern Hill University. Thank you all of you. Let me straight away go to Charu Pragya. Dattatreya Hosabale has reignited the old debate. The matter partially went to the court. It's part of the political debate. How do you see it, Charu?
Good evening. See, I think this debate has become a long-standing and an old one now. But we cannot forget that India has always been Bharat. This is the ancient name our land has been known by. Even if you go back to the time of Vishnu Puran, you look at the way India was written about in colonial era documents. Even now, whether it is official documents, government records, legal frameworks, a lot of times even international treaties have been signed in the name of Bharat. And I think that making an issue out of the usage of Bharat is on divisive lines. We should put a stop to it. I cannot comment on whether the name will be officially changed or not, but let us understand that both the names are comfortably interchangeable. And every time an objection is raised to the use of Bharat, it is not fair. I can give you examples of many countries around the world which are called something entirely different in their indigenous languages. I'll start with Japan as an example. It's called Nippon in Japanese. China is called Zongo in Mandarin. Egypt is called Misr in Arabic. Germany is called Oshiland. And we don't see any kind of a debate erupting when these names are taken in their native tongues. In fact, we also have a history of a lot of names being changed. Sri Lanka's name was changed from Ceylon to Sri Lanka. Holland was Netherlands in recent times. So this is nothing new. It has happened time and time again around the world. But I think India seems to be at a place where the opposition must pick at bones even sometimes to divide our country. See, when we have policies of Bharat Sarkar, we are using both the names interchangeably. So we will talk about Stand Up India or a Startup India, and at the same time, we will launch Vande Bharat. And it's never been a problem up till now. Our passport reads Bharat. That has never been a problem up till now. But most recently, I find that those practicing appeasement politics have started taking too many pains to point out that discomfort with the name Bharat. That needs to stop, please.
Okay. Dr. Pooja Tripathi, is it about coloniality, shedding coloniality, or plain politics?
I think, look, who is talking, Kartikeya? It's RSS that's talking about shedding coloniality and who are actually hands in glove with the Britishers. When India was India/Bharat, which our article 1 explicitly says India, that is Bharat, was fighting for its freedom struggle. I think it's a question of misplaced priorities. Why does this debate, come up? We are as much as in India, we are as much as in Bharat, and we take complete pride. We take absolute pride in both its identities. And I don't know, as I'm saying, it's a problem of misplaced priorities. When you say India should be named Bharat, would it solve the deadlock that's been happening for 2 years in Manipur? Would it bring the Indian rupee or the Bharatiya rupee, whatever Bharatiya currency that you call it, akin to its falling value against the dollar? This is the question it's just playing to the politics. It's just playing to the galleries of politics. We are Indians and we are Bharatiya. We bled blue on Sunday. We bled blue because we were cheering for Team India. And as far as President of India uses the word President of Bharat, We don't have absolutely no problem with that. Is the RSS that's bringing in this politics, and is the RSS that's bringing in much more, crucial issues that needs to be debated. And I hope RSS General Secretary or RSS Chief takes a stand on it. I hope RSS goes on to speak on it rather than playing by the same gallery of India, Bharat, and this useless controversy. And I think it's just unjustified, untimed, and it holds no value when it says, and that's that too, coming from RSS, that's very rich.
Okay.
I must say.
Let me go across to Arun. Arun, from Persia to Iran, Ceylon to Sri Lanka, Charu already said it. From Burma to Myanmar, changes have happened in terms of countries have done it. It's not a first, it's not unusual. But my question to you is that why has this issue become so politically sensitive?
I think the issue has become politically sensitive because the political parties have started raising it. The RSS has had a consistent, see, whether you agree with RSS or you don't agree with RSS, that's a different matter. But as far as RSS is concerned, it has taken this consistent stand right since 1947, or you can say after 1950 also, when the constitution was came into force. And they have been saying basically in their meetings, and the only thing is now because BJP is in power, social media has come. Now events are covered on the digital format. You get to read basically, all these stories. So all these things seem, pretty new to a lot of people who have not tracked basically RSS, or who have not read the RSS literature, or who haven't gone through the, and if you go on rss.org, which is their official website, so all the resolutions are available, and in which they have been repeatedly talking about this thing. One. Second is, Kartikeya, see, RSS is a socio-cultural organization. They want to basically, they have been raising different issues. People can agree to disagree. There was a time nobody agreed that Article 370 should be removed, a large section of people, but we have seen what happened. So what Dattatreya Hosabale ji has done is basically, he has brought an issue into the public domain, and they have been actually bringing this issue into the public domain, but it's only because of the overemphasized focus on RSS in the media that we get to hear these things, and we see. So they are not saying, they are not imposing that thing on you. The RSS is saying that is their viewpoint. Let the society discuss it. If they want to basically do it, they will do it. Otherwise, the RSS will continue to basically, take forward the. So there is no divisiveness in basically this thing. So I think that is what. And one more thing, the Congress spokesperson, unnecessarily raised this issue that the RSS had basically joined hands with the British. She can go. It's on the record. Basically, if you look at the intelligence reports of the CID at that time, and there are other there is an interview by Aruna Asaf Ali in 1967. There have been a number of other documents also that RSS was actually basically, RSS and Sevaks had participated in a big way in the freedom movement. So I think they should first check the facts basically, and if she wants, I will tell her the name of the books also. So, and she can Google it basically. So, I think one needs to be, and when the discussion is on India or Bharat or this thing, why do you unnecessarily, drag this thing? It's like, kind of a hit and run kind of a thing. So don't do this thing. That's my suggestion. Of course, they're political parties. They have every right to, say or do whatever this thing.
Okay. Professor Prasenjit Biswas joins me. Professor Biswas, I'll stick to this question. Shedding of coloniality or a political position?
We have a politicized vision of decolonization, and we have a cultural epistemic understanding of decolonization. As far as I teach philosophy, as far as Indian tradition and Indian epistemology is concerned, we look at every religion, every language as our own. English is one of the Indian languages. So I don't want to discriminate against English, and English is a major link language for large part of India. So large part of India where state language, the state where I belong to now, Meghalaya, has its state language as English. Nagaland has its state language as English. Mizoram has its state language as English. And I can give you an example where English really serves. And therefore the name India, that is Bharat. The wholesome sentence has to be taken into account. why the name India should be dropped. I have no objection to use of the word Bharat. Bharat is as own as ours as India is. And India is a byproduct of the long freedom struggle. Gandhiji called it India. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose
Professor
has called
Biswas,
it India.
sorry for interjecting you.
Chittaranjan Das has called it India.
Professor Biswas.
So where is the objection?
Sorry. Just a question. I would like you to address that. I think it's clear that the Bharat precedes India. Civilizationally, I'm not saying. I want you to answer that. Civilizationally, Bharat precedes India. Isn't that correct?
If we go by the precedents, before Bharat it was Jambudip, and before Jambudip it was something else. It was sometimes called Aryabhatta, sometimes it was called Dakshinanchal, sometimes it was called as Purva Bharat or something else, Samatat. So you have multiple names preceding Bharat. Now in the constitutional debate, Constituent Assembly, we agreed that India and Bharat are synonymous and they should go together. Now, why the name India should be dropped? Bharat should be there. I have absolutely no objection. Bharatiyatva, Bharat, part of our civilizational discourse. India is also part of our civilizational discourse. It should not be othered. Because Bharat may be a Hindi or Sanskritized word, but India word is equally favorable to the non-Sanskritic languages like Tamil or Malayalam or to the northeastern part of India, from where I come to. So therefore, I see it's more unifying to say that India, that is Bharat, is a more unifying statement than to consider it in a fragmentary manner.
But sir, a lot of people would disagree if Bharat, a word, has to suffer because of epistemology or the root origin, which can be traced back to Sanskrit. I think a lot of people will take objection to it. Savio, to you. I'll come back to you, Professor. Savio.
So let me put it as plainly and as simple as possible. India is a reflection of the colonial truth about Bharat, and therefore it is essential and important for every single Bharatiya to ensure that India rises as Bharat, because India's rising as Bharat is the reclaiming of the history that we stand for. And it is also the future of what we will move towards. India is the colonial truth about what our nation experienced. It is the colonial truth of what all Bharatiyas went through. And therefore, it is only imperative to us as a nation that we get back to our roots, our Bharatiya roots. Bharat Varsha or Bharat is what our reality is, and therefore I support the RSS completely, and I think it's the need of the hour that India rises as Bharat, because that is our real destiny, that is our real identity. We are not a nation at this point of time that suffers from a colonial hangover, and we are Bharatiyas, and we will always be sons and daughters of Bharat Mata, and that is the reality of this country. That is the reality of every single citizen in this country. So I don't know why should anybody have a problem with it. Yes, we are Indians. It is a name that was given to us, but that's not the truth. So the truth about our existence is that every single one of us, whether we are Hindus, whether we are Muslims, whether we are Sikhs, whether we are people of different or no religion, belonging to Bharat, we are really sons and daughters of Bharat Mata, and that's the reality. And that is a thing the people of this country will accept, have accepted, and will continue to accept.
Or is it because of the fact, Charu, that there is an unresolved debate, and there are multiple byproducts of it? There are people who believe that India is a civilizational state. There are politicians and political parties who believe India is a union of states. And it is here I locate this debate, Bharat versus India. Do you agree or disagree?
So there is a political party which says India is a union of states. In fact, the leader of that political party also says that he is against the state of India itself. He is fighting against the state of India. So I am going to negate every point put forth by that particular leader. I don't want to get into what Congress or Rahul Gandhi has been talking about when it comes to India, Bharat. I don't think he understands the ethos of what Bharat is. And that has been India's greatest tragedy. The leader of opposition thinks it is all right to say that he is fighting against the state of India. But moving on from there, I think we need to understand that for the longest time, our country has had an identity struggle. Bharatiyata was looked upon as something weak, as something small, as something which needed to be diminished in order to claim your place on the global platform. That has changed in the last decade, and I say it with a lot of pride. In the last decade, the recognition of the name Bharat is as much as the name India used to be recognized, and that's beautiful. When our president issues an invite for a G20 dinner and it reads the president of Bharat requests for your company, I think it is beautiful. I think the way that we have interchangeably used both the names reclaims our legacy.
But Charu, there have been, a lot of people forget there have been debates in this parliament where people have juxtaposed India versus Bharat. When they spoke about India, they spoke in English. When they spoke about Bharat, they spoke in Hindi. And they juxtapose India as urban and Bharat as subaltern. So, you know, as a journalist, Dr. Tripathi, do you think that the Bharat suffers because, you know, the whole political narrative was that India is forward-looking and Bharat is something subaltern? The way the debates were conducted in Lok Sabha. And I've heard them myself.
Kartikeya, you know, when we say we take pride in being Bharatiyata and we just count the last 10 years, I think it's...
why don't people accept the fact that Bharat can be a name?
Collective ethos, it's insulting the collective journey. A partition-torn country reached up to this stage. I think it's insulting the collective ethos of every leader, collective ethos of every Indian / Bharatiya. And it's insulting their will to take our country ahead. And that's where, when you say India, it's not an India versus Bharat. And when you say India, that is Union of States, there's a constitution mentions it. It's not just political leader. It's a constitution article 1 mentions that India is a Union of States. So we are saying it can never be an India versus Bharat.
Dr. Tripathi, precisely my point.
Ahead, Bharat lags behind.
Precisely my point. That's the point. That's the point I was making. Now, there are people in this country who believe that India is a civilizational state. Precisely the point I was making.
When you talk about the cultural aspect, you're right that Bharat has been there.
Culture precedes constitution.
For generations.
I mean, so you can't deny that.
So that's what I'm saying. Don't put it like India versus Bharat. When we say India, as I said, you know, India is India that is Bharat, and Bharat that is India. We are a collective force, and we can never be put into boxes that Bharat is a rural India, part of it, subcontinent, and India is in suburban. I think I completely disagree with this narrative. We are a country, and there are much bigger problem. As I said, Kartikeya, there are much bigger problem that needs to be addressed by India too, and that needs to be addressed by Bharat too. And there are much bigger victories, and there are much bigger celebrations that we take pride in as an Indian too, and as an Bharatiya too. So this whole debate is misplaced. This whole argument is misplaced, and as I said, it's an ill-timed, it's a non-justified thing that's coming up. Why would you place India versus Bharat? Our constitution has mentioned it.
You made your point. You made your point. You said it's misplaced. Charu, I think you raised your finger.
You know.
Yes, I did, because you know, the emphasis with which certain things are said, I think that is where priorities are misplaced. The first time the name Bharat was used, why did the opposition need to make such a huge hue and cry about it? Since the day Rahul Gandhi was born, his passport read Bharat. Did he not open his eyes and read it then? Why is it that when we say it today, we say it with a lot more pride, it becomes an issue, it becomes a political debate? Why is
it's not about Rahul Gandhi, it's for Dr. Ambedkar. It's the former Supreme Court.
I don't think this is the kind of a channel where this kind of a cross conversation is
Dr.
encouraged.
Tripathi, please let Charu finish. She didn't disturb you. I think that's where my channel is different from others. Please.
Thank you very much, Kartikeya. So I was just coming to that. So why is it that the name Bharat becomes a huge issue of a political debate when it comes to the opposition. Like I said, it has existed since before the Constitution of India existed. The article, like the first article in our Constitution says India, that is Bharat. But all of a sudden, this reclaiming of India's glory, of India's cultural heritage seems to irk certain politicians. That needs to stop. And like I said, if the world is comfortable with both the names being used interchangeably or Bharat being used more and more often, even for a smooth transition, what's the problem? What's the problem? I don't understand.
Arun, my question is very simple. I mean to say the debates in the Constituent Assembly produced laws. Debates produced the Constitution. And there were a lot of things where there was no consensus, they went to directive principle. And there are multiple issues which went to court. There were and some of them went on to become political in 80s and 90s, like Uniform Civil Code. But the fact of the matter is that there is a part of India which believes that India is a civilizational state. Isn't that debate of Bharat located within that narrative?
I think they're both the things. See, one is that, of course, one section thinks that,
Okay, let me be blunt. Do you think India is a civilizational state or not? Let me ask you.
India is a civilizational state.
Do you believe India is a civilizational state or not?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So India is a civilizational state, and that's why, you see, what does the word Bharat mean? Bharat means basically, it comes from the Sanskrit root is basically bha, or sometimes they call it bhra also. It's basically something that bears light. See, the etymology, Kartik, we have had several discussions off camera also about, these things. Etymology is very important. The words are very important. Why don't my parents get my name as, A2 or A3 or A4? Why it is Arun? Or why nobody keeps the name Ravan? Why nobody keeps the name Duryodhan? Why nobody keeps the name Kans? So name is very, very significant when it comes to the identity of an individual or a country. So we cannot say what's in the name. But of course, as I said earlier also, that it's basically a debate which has to take place on this thing. Let's not run away. People can agree to disagree, and then we can come to a consensus. And that is the way basically RSS approaches it. RSS is not saying ki bhaiya kar do aaj, jo hai, thappa maar ke. Because RSS is not an organization, it is basically a mechanism to organize the society. So whatever the society wants, they are just trying to build an opinion in the society. They're not giving a diktat to the society.
Okay, Professor Biswas, I'm going to carry forward this argument. I had decided when I started this debate. Do you feel that India is an old nation and a young country, or you feel that it's a young nation and a young country? Because there are people who believe it's an old nation but a young country.
See, the notion of nation and nation state needs to be distinguished. India as a nation is a combination of multiple nationalities. And this has been throughout the history. Rabindranath Tagore's poem also points this out, that there are so many communities who have come to India.
Let me put it this way, sir. You have been teaching all your life. Was there an idea of Bharat before independence?
Idea of Bharat before independence was not
even before freedom struggle. Even before freedom, did we have an idea of? Okay.
No, we didn't have an idea of nation or state. We didn't have an idea of jati in the sense of one jati. We had an idea of sampradaya. Now Bharat cannot be called a sampradaya. If Bharat is a jati, the notion of nation states have originated from freedom struggle. Precisely from 1757, we have been gearing up towards a nation state, and now state precedes over nation. If states precedes over nation, then there is something statist in the argument if you want to obliterate the idea of India by putting it only as
Sir, I'm
Bharat.
asking you a very specific question like a student. Wasn't there an idea of Bharatiyata before colonial struggle? Was there an idea of was there a Bharatiya culture before colonial struggle?
That was vague. That was completely vague. If you look at Bankim Chandra's writing, who is the earliest writing about Bharat, you can look at his writings. He have never mentioned Bharat.
You're saying that there was no sense of Bharatiyata before colonial struggle?
No. Okay. That was only symbolic.
Okay.
That was only textual.
Wait a minute. I'll give you the chance, sir. Charu, you wanted to comment?
So, sir, most respectfully, I would urge you to remember that all the way from the Rig Ved, the one, Mahabharat, even the colonial era documents read and write about Bharatvarsh. So please don't say that the idea of India was always just about India and Bharatiyata did not exist. It's been here since time immemorial. And for a person as senior as you to dismiss it so easily is either misleading or completely unfair, or you've been biased to a certain extent. I'm sorry I'm saying that. So let's remember that the oldest documents which talk about our country, which is a very, very old nation, it is a very old civilization, which has been called Bharatvarsh. You cannot do away with the word Bharat today.
Okay, Professor, to you, and I'll take the closing comment.
No, I disagree, because Indus Valley civilization, which is supposed to be the earliest, or even the other archival and archaeological records we have not found the mention of the word Bharat. Bharat is available in textual sources. I agree to that. And Bharatiyata, as a concept of nation or nation state, came with modernity, which is largely an 18th century product.
Okay.
And that's where our national...
You have come to the point I was trying to make, sir.
And now we are connecting it to the ancient civilization. This is a narrative connection that we are making. You see? That's what.
Okay. Arun, quickly. Arun.
Just two things. One is that professor should go back and read Vishnu Puran, which is at least 3,000 years old, in which specifically the geography of the Bharat is also mentioned. And there is a shloka. And the second thing is, the very fact that what you may call epic is known as Mahabharat. So you cannot say, that the concept of Bharat or Bharatiyata did not exist.
Okay. Anyway, the point I was just trying to drive in was that people have the right to believe in the text of the constitution, but it does not rob people of the idea of the civilizational state which India is. I think that also holds sanctity. I mean, so one cannot be held here and another cannot be held there. That's the larger idea. Thank you all of you for joining my show. That's all on Point 1. But after the break, we will discuss deadlock continues in Manipur, free movement does not translate into action, and what will centre do.
Associate sponsor Tata AIG, with you like family, with you